Hello and welcome to a brand new football podcast. I'm James Wood and introducing JG.
Hi James, it's great to be here.
As we go studs up.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. And basically here on Studs Up, me and James here just had an idea that we're going to make a podcast and we love everything football. We've been watching football together for a few years now.
God knows how long.
You know, he's a lifelong United fan. I've relatively recently sort of started following Man City, although I wouldn't
Glory support.
I wouldn't consider myself a real fan or anything like that, but I do sort of follow them. Yeah, we're going to have a bit of back and forth, hopefully talk a bit about the title race and English football and the international England team. And yeah, I mean, there's no limit really. We might talk about random stuff completely nothing to do with football, but you know, this podcast is going to be mostly about football. So yeah, James, anything all right about that?
Yep, that's pretty much all. We hope you enjoy it. We'll be doing this about once a week in midweek. And
well, I wouldn't commit to anything, but yeah, we'll do it when we can.
We'll do it when we can. Yeah, there might be a blog up. I mean, we're just going to see how it goes.
Yeah, so thanks for listening.
Okay, so last night was the England game against Ukraine at Wembley. And as much as I hate England games at Wembley, because they're always pretty shit, this one I thought we were pretty disappointing. Really, to be outplayed at home by Ukraine is not where we should be. I think we've got a better team than that, Jay. You know, it was pretty bad.
Well, I disagree to some extent there, because I think, as you said, when England play home games, you do lower your expectation to some point, and I have to admit, I think we're slowly getting there against, with the new Hodgson sort of era we're having here. We're okay at the Euros, but I think if you compare the two games against the Ukraine that we've had, one in the Euros and obviously last night, I think actually we were actually attacking wise better last night. I think we created quite a few chances, easily could have scored a couple of goals. Tom Cleverley had a couple of good chances. Danny Welbeck hit the post.
Did he ever? Cleverley. I'm a United fan, but those chances I could put away, I think. It was pretty bad.
Well, the first one was pretty awful, wasn't it?
Just a mess, to be honest, wasn't he?
Although I think there was a question that Defoe was offside from the original ball in, but obviously it wasn't given, and
should have scored.
Yeah.
But I think with Cleverley, the thing is that he's being played out of position for that game. I think he shouldn't have been the second striker. I think he plays better in a 4-4-2, you know, with a out and out centre mid.
Yeah, well, that's certainly the way that Alex Ferguson seems to prefer to play him.
Yeah, he does.
But having said that, I think he did all right last night. The unfortunate thing is that he will be remembered for those two misses.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think he had a pretty good game, and he was impressive against Moldova as well. So, yeah, definitely one for the future. Although, like I said,
like
we said, not his finest moment with those couple of finishes last night.
No, I think that you always get with England players, a young player comes through, he's instantly compared to a great player in his position, like Cleverley, they're saying is the next Scholes. And it's not going to happen, is it? I don't think, it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
He needs to keep his feet on the ground.
I mean, we can't expect too much of these young players or indeed new players who are going to come into the squad. They've obviously shown a lot of talent both at club level and shown potential at international level, but we can't go around comparing. Perfect example is Arsenal, where they've obviously lost Van Persie, and now people are expecting Giroud and Podolski to come in and immediately take off where Van Persie left, but it just, it doesn't happen like that. It's unfortunately a cliche, but Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, Arsenal wasn't built in a day. But Podolski will be a pretty good player, I reckon. That finish he scored the other day was a nice goal.
Yeah, against Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a player, I reckon.
Yeah, he's an impressive player. I mean, he struggled a bit at Bayern Munich, then obviously went back to Cologne last season and played really well there. So we mustn't forget he's only 27 years old. It feels like he's been around for ages now. I remember in the 2006 World Cup when he had a really good tournament there. That
was a great German team.
Yeah, he's still relatively speaking young. Certainly, what I would say the peak of his career for a footballer.
Definitely, he's coming up to the best times.
But yeah, so I think he'll probably hit the ground running. Certainly, Arsenal fans would hope so, because
they have to rely on him now, don't they? I mean, they're struggling. I
think Giroud might take a bit longer. I think it's a bigger step up from the French league to the Premier League than maybe the German league, and obviously Podolski's had a lot of international experience, a lot more than Giroud has. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried if we're Arsenal fans at the moment. But we've kind of sidestepped that. Do you want to go back to the England game, talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, I will. Of course, another breakthrough youngster is the Oxlade-Chamberlain. Alec Oxlade. Now, what do you make of him? Because he had a pretty good championships. I think we'll all agree. Good game against France, but last night he didn't really look at the races.
No, it wasn't his finest moment last night. But I think, like we said before, we can't expect all these young players to hit the ground running. I still think he's definitely learning the game. Still, he's got quite a bit of progress still to make, but the potential's definitely there, and I'm not quite sure it was the right idea keep starting him. Certainly not all the time.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe it's a bit too early in his career.
On the left,
I'm not sure. Maybe someone like Walcott. Obviously,
it's odd about Theo Walcott, because he was very much established, wasn't he? And you remember what he did to who was it away? Croatia, or was it Russia? In the qualifiers last time around, and he's just been left in the dark a bit now.
Yeah, I think it was Croatia. Walcott seems to be, and to some extent, a similar player to the Ox. He seems to have been around for ages. Certainly started showing a lot of potential around the same age as Oxlade-Chamberlain is now.
There was that crazy business where he was included in Sven's squad, wasn't it? And that was that 06?
06, and then he was left out in 2010, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a strange decision for me. But
his career might stall.
Yeah, I think he's definitely. He still shows moments where you think, oh, this guy's a world-class player, and then other moments where you think, this guy wouldn't be out of place playing for a League Two squad.
Oh yeah, sure. But I think he'll leave Arsenal in, because there's a lot of talk about contract problems there.
No, I think he'll stay. I do. Yep. I think he will sign a new contract. I think if he was going to go, he would have gone this summer. Yeah, but definitely, I think slightly, to some extent, disappointing career so far from Walcott. Not to say he's a bad player, but he certainly showed the potential to do a lot more. But the good news is that he's still got, hopefully, many years ahead of him. Same thing with Oxlade-Chamberlain, but at the moment for England, I see him more as an impact player. To be honest, he does seem to do better when England aren't playing well, or even Arsenal as well, when they seem to be struggling a bit. He always seems to add that little bit extra, whereas
his pace is electric.
Yeah, so he was a bit sloppy last night. He gave the ball away, far too easily.
Who was
quite a lot of the time? Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. But so Gerrard and Lampard in the midfield for you? That old chestnut. It's still going. I don't know how, but it's still going.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I think they seem to be working better now than they ever have under Capello or Ericsson.
Like a fine wine, improving with age.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I know it's only Moldova back on Friday, but they really played well then.
Yeah, Lampard scoring twice.
Yeah, that was a really impressive display, especially for England. It was one of those performances which does give you encouragement. In the past, you might have thought, oh, we might we might scab a 1-0 here or something, but
or 2-0, 2-1.
Yeah, to score 5 is pretty good. And yesterday Poland only beat Moldova 2-0 at home, so it's not like they're the worst team ever. But you know, they didn't have their best game, but we definitely played one of our best, certainly qualifying games that I can remember. So
yeah, it's a good preparation, obviously, for when we take on the Titans of San Marino next month.
Well, yeah, that
we're struggling there. Is that a home or away? Do you think that game?
It's a home game.
Home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should beat them a few.
Hopefully, we can give some younger players a start in that one, and
yeah, that'd be an idea. Yeah.
Don't think we should take them completely lightly. I remember when we played, I think it was Andorra a few years ago, and we went in 0-0 at half time, and everyone was, you know, it was absolute uproar that this tiny little nation that's, you know, barely the size of Milton Keynes, and here we are not beating them. But
of course, everyone remembers the famous Algeria game.
Oh yeah, that was pretty horrible, that game. But
we were watching, weren't we? Watching together.
Yeah,
it was just an embarrassment, really.
I still think
the USA. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really remember a lot about the 2010 World Cup, but
well, it's best forgotten, isn't it, from English?
I think we did better at the Euros, even though our style of football wasn't necessarily any better in an attacking sense. But
yeah,
we're definitely more solid, and that's one thing you can rely on. Roy Hodgson team is they're going to be very solid defensively, and we seem to have got that sorted out.
No, Hodgson, I think, you know, has earned a bit of respect in the Euros. I think we did do well to keep out the Italians for what was 120 minutes. You know, we did really well, and you know, he has shown he can send a good side out. He's got that tactical nous, hasn't he, Hodgson, that other managers haven't had.
Yeah,
I think he's decent.
He's done really well at Fulham and West Brom. Not so good at Liverpool, but I think, to be honest with you, maybe when the expectations are a bit lower, certainly very high expectations at a club like Liverpool, and certainly expectations were low when he took over with England. I think he did really well, and I think in a way it was maybe a good thing that we got knocked out in the quarterfinals against Italy, because we didn't embarrass ourselves at all.
Yeah, you mean we saved ourselves a beating? Really?
Well, not necessarily, but you know, we lost on penalties. There's no shame in that, and
no.
It was weird though, because before we've been knocked out in penalties. I remember 2004 and 2006 against Portugal really well, and absolutely gutted. Admittedly, I was about 14 years old when that happened or whatever, but
I was devastated.
I think, you know, the England team is quite a way off that team, which had a lot of potential and never really lived up to it.
Yeah,
got knocked out a couple of times agonisingly, but I think, to be honest with you, it was obviously disappointing to lose on penalties, but Italy probably definitely deserved to win the game, so we can't really argue about that.
But the defence looking quite good. I mean, the two fullbacks, were those positions still up for grabs, do you think?
Well, Ashley Cole's getting on a bit now, isn't he? And Leighton Baines isn't exactly really young, but he's certainly, I think he's a few years younger, isn't he? So,
but he's not. I don't think he's first team potential. I don't think he looked mobile enough to hold down a place. I don't think he looked particularly good in defensively. Going backwards.
Well, really?
I'm not sure he's. I think possibly bringing on young Sterling would be a good idea.
Not a fullback though.
Not a fullback.
No, he's a winger.
You use him as a winger.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the position he's playing for Liverpool, but I think he's definitely more of an attacking player. Maybe when he gets a bit older. That's a long way away. He's only 16 now.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think
good player.
I think Baines he's definitely deserved his place in the squad. You can't argue about that. I mean, he's been really good for Everton for a number of seasons now, and I think he definitely
deserves a shot.
Yeah, he deserves a chance. I think he played all right. He didn't do too much, wrong. He didn't do anything notable. Did score against Moldova. That was a
bit of a fluky goal, deflected free kick. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I think he's been all right. I think he was definitely more stable in defence than Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson is, I don't know. I think maybe they should
move on Johnson,
or play him on the wing. But
you know, I'm not a fan of Johnson. The Germany game, 2010, we got hammered. I thought he was culpable for at least 2 or 3 of those. I mean, he was just everywhere.
Well, yeah,
there's no idea where to stand. Positioning.
Yeah,
horrendous.
Defensively, he is a little
weak link,
perhaps. But then I do like the look of him when he's running, you know, and cutting in on his left foot. And I remember that goal he scored against Chelsea, was it a couple of seasons ago?
Yeah, he just pinged it on the left peg.
Oh, he cut inside from the right, and yeah, it was a really. I think it was last season. Yeah, he definitely has potential. But personally, I mean, you know, I'm a Man City guy. I think Mika Richards would be perhaps better. He's a strong lad. He's good going forward, but at the same time, he's shown that he's good in defence. I don't know if you saw any of him playing at the Olympics at all, but he seemed to have a pretty good
good Olympics
competition there. And
I don't know how much weight you can put on these Olympic games. I mean, how much do you see of them? Do you enjoy them?
I saw a bit, but it certainly wasn't the number one choice when I flipped through the schedule.
No,
I definitely would choose the athletics and I don't know, rowing and swimming and things over that. But
yeah, there's a lot.
I saw a bit.
Sure. Oh, yeah, Giggs, of course, playing a good Olympics.
Well, it's good for Giggs to have experience of international competition. I think that was probably the main reason that he wanted to.
Sure, he's not going to get another shot at that, is he?
Well, it's unlikely, isn't it? Well, he's not even playing for Wales anymore,
nope.
So
nope.
No, that was his one shot, wasn't it?
He's definitely one of the greatest players to have not made a major tournament, isn't he?
Probably, yeah.
Internationally, along with George Best and others, I guess. Never made a major, but the football, you know, it doesn't sit easily in the Olympics, does it? It doesn't ever seem that it quite fits with the likes of athletics, shooting, archery.
Oh no, the obvious reason is that football is a massive sport worldwide, and there are so many more things that are seen as more important than the Olympics. You've got World Cup, European Championships, all the Premier League, Champions League, you know, everything like this. When you get around to the Olympics, you really think, oh, you know, it's taking a bit of a back seat to some of the other sports, which it should, because there's nothing more prestigious in the likes of athletics and swimming and rowing than winning a gold medal at the Olympics. Whereas I'm sure there were plenty of footballers. Well, they were proud to represent the country, I'm sure, but it's not the same sort of level as the World Cup. But sure. I don't know. It's a debate, isn't it? I mean, should it be in there at all? Should we maybe have amateur players, no professionals? I mean,
would be interesting. It would be interesting. I mean,
I'm not quite sure how you did go about doing the selection process there, but
that'd be tough. I think if you're gonna make it amateurs, you might as well get rid of it altogether, because people will not be interested.
Well, they have added in this.
I don't think
the stipulation where you're only allowed 3 players over the age of 23, isn't it? So they're obviously trying to encourage younger players, and not some teams bringing out their full squad and others not so. But you know, a lot of
But the same could be said for tennis and basketball as well. You know, they're very prestigious sports in their own right, and I think the players feel a bit unenthusiastic when it comes to an Olympic Games. You really do.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, we'll take tennis for an example. When Roger Federer looks back at his career, I'm sure he'll look back at the number of majors he's won and not at how he's done in the Olympics. The interesting thing was Murray obviously winning the gold at the Olympics. That was definitely something special, being at Wimbledon in front of the home crowd. The fact that he'd lost to Federer just a month earlier, so that was definitely special. But I mean, if he'd won that gold medal in Beijing or Rio or anything else, then I'm sure we wouldn't have looked at it as much as he did winning it at Wimbledon. And even then, I think if you probably asked Murray what would you have rather had, Wimbledon or the Olympics, he
would have said Wimbledon every time. And of course, of course he's won the US now.
Yeah, that's great.
Impressive, wasn't it? Impressive beating.
Rounds up a great summer of sport for Great Britain, really. The Olympics, Paralympics. We've had Rory McIlroy winning another major at the age of 23 now. It's quite unbelievable. I think we can call him British, can't we? Not Irish.
Fair enough.
Northern Irish.
Oh yeah. What is he? Northern Irish, is he?
Yeah.
That's definitely Britain. We got there. We're in there. But it's just a shame then that perhaps our national sport, football, it's a bit of a disappointment compared to all those things. But I think you've got to give time for this. It's obviously a new era, a new breed of players, and we're going to watch this space and see how they come through.
Do you mean football in terms of the Olympics, or football in terms of
international
compared
football
to other sports? Or
I think there's been a bit of a backlash. You saw last night a lot of empty seats, and just perhaps attention is moving away from football because the international team has been pretty disappointing in so many tournaments in recent years consecutively.
I'm not sure about that. I think there's that buzz that everyone gets when major tournament comes round. I mean, sure, it's disappointing not getting 3 points at home to a team like Ukraine, but as long as we qualify and we're there, by the time the World Cup comes round, then I think the excitement will be up again. The difficult thing with the Euros and with this summer is that the Olympics, this is really once in a lifetime, isn't it? The Olympics coming to London for many people.
Absolutely.
And it's just a massive sense of patriotism, and people maybe don't look at football in as good a light as they might at other times, but that doesn't mean
comparatively,
doesn't mean that it's going to completely lose its popularity.
No, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
So the international break is over, it's gone, it's out of the way, it's in the past, and we're looking forward to the Premier League again this weekend. Man United host Wigan, Stoke play Man City. Those are the two games that stick out from the page. QPR against Chelsea should be a good game, with QPR obviously completely overturning their whole squad this summer.
Big spenders.
But let's start. We've got a United fan right here.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this weekend's game?
Yes, we do. Well, the Wigan game, it's famous for United trouncing Wigan, mostly at home. And Jay, you'll know all about Wigan, because obviously you used to be a Wigan fan before you turned to City.
I wouldn't necessarily
when City started winning.
Wouldn't necessarily say fan.
Fair play.
But
fair play.
I do follow Wigan. I like the fact that they've ground out a season of results to keep them in the Premier League for the last 8 seasons now. They seem to be always down there in a relegation dogfight come April and May, but
with basically no fans to support them at home.
Yeah,
they're famous.
Not the best ground for home support, that's for sure. But no, I think they've spent pretty well this season. Wigan, they've lost Victor Moses. I think that's quite a big loss. I'm not quite sure the thinking behind Moses actually going to Chelsea, because Chelsea seem to have quite a strong attacking squad, certainly with the likes of Hazard, Mata, Oscar and Marin. So I'm not quite sure how much football Moses is going to get at Chelsea, but Wigan have spent well. They've got this new guy, Aruna Kone, I think, from, was it Levante? Yeah, he looks to be a pretty good player. Right. So they've got Ivan Ramis, I think he's a centre back from Mallorca, and
but can you see them overturning United at Old Trafford?
No, I can't.
No chance. No chance. I think even without Wayne Rooney still missing with the gash to his leg, and possibly Van Persie with a thigh injury he sustained last night for Holland.
Well, I'm not sure.
I think we'll still have too much for them. Hopefully.
Probably, yeah.
I think we'll see it through.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think if it's been this match at the end of last season, I think Wigan would have had a good chance. Wigan actually beat United. Admittedly, Wigan were playing at home at the end of last season. Remember that when Wigan won 1-0? That was
horrendous.
But they were on a. To be fair, they were on a brilliant
horrendous
run of form though. They really were at the end of last season. They were winning games. They beat Arsenal away. Unlucky not to get a result at Chelsea, but
they really dominated that game over us. We played a terrible game in midfield, and we just couldn't get the engine started. Really, weren't making chances, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was really awful. But also Stoke and City. Then Stoke and Man City. Now Stoke, it's a cliche, but you're going to get beaten when you come down there.
Yeah,
they're not going to make it easy for you, are they?
It's a tough place to go, that's for sure. Man City drew 1-1 at the end of last season against Stoke, and I can see it being another tough game. Doesn't look as though Aguero's going to be back for that game. They're saying he may be ready for the Real Madrid game next week, which I'm sure we'll come on to. Can't wait for that game. But yeah, Stoke is a tough place to go. We saw that just the other week, where Arsenal could only get a point there. So yeah, and I think Stoke last season were unbeaten, weren't they? Against, I think Newcastle was the only team out of the top 6 that they actually lost to.
Very good season
at home. So yeah, well, it wasn't a brilliant season for Stoke, but it was a solid season. I mean, if you look at them comparatively from a couple of years ago, I think they'd be very happy to see that they're a pretty established Premier League team now, and definitely a tough place to go. Not always praised on their style of football,
no.
But yeah,
it's fair to say.
I think Man City can get all 3 points, but I think I wouldn't at all be surprised if that one finished a draw. So,
do you think City are looking as strong as last season? Because they're just an incredible form just after Christmas and around Christmas time, weren't they, last season? They continued it right through to the end, I think.
They hit the ground running at the start of last season, which they haven't done so far this season. But what they have showed is that they can grind out the results. We've got 7 points now from 3 games, which is a decent tally, especially considering we've already played at Anfield. So, the points tally is the most important thing at this time. So
definitely,
it's not been a brilliant start, but hopefully the team will start gelling. It has been quite a tough summer, certainly with the Euros, and not a lot of transfer activity in Italy, but I think as well, I'm not quite sure, didn't even the players play in the Olympics? Not many, probably.
Not many City players, obviously. Mika Richards.
Yeah,
Mika Richards we've mentioned.
That's one. Juan Mata was another one, actually. He played a whole summer, even though of course he's a Chelsea player. But yeah, I think they're saying they're going to give Mata a bit of time off Chelsea, because he's played pretty much every week for the past.
There have been a few to play the Euros and the Olympics, haven't there? Though there were a few, and that will obviously have an effect. I mean, I can't see them. Those players managing 30 games. I think they'll need a rest.
Yeah,
those players will definitely need a rest. So, what's your prediction? Stoke and Man City. Win for City.
I'd like to think so, but I'm going to go for the same result as last season. That's a 1-1 draw. I just think Stoke's just a difficult place to go. They're well organised and they're very tough to break down.
They could fight you off.
Well, I think they're a match for anyone at home. So, but I'd be surprised if Stoke would win the game. I think if Man City may just edge it 2-1, but I'll go for 1-1.
Right.
You didn't give me a result for the United game. What did you think about that one?
Well, the United game. We might be relying on Welbeck and Hernandez, or probably just Welbeck on his own. I would suggest in a 4-5-1, and I reckon United should even so be holding out for a decent 2-0 on that. Do you?
Yeah. Although I'm going to say that we're going to score, but I think you'll win. I think you'll win. I'll go for 3-1.
We have been conceding a little bit this season, haven't we?
Yeah, you conceded 2 to Fulham, I think. Obviously, you lost away at Everton and 2 at Southampton. So.
Yep. So it's there. I mean, that Southampton game was a bit of a classic. That's probably the shape of things to come this season. I think a high scoring thriller from United. Always doing it the hard way, scoring late in the game.
Yeah.
Again, as you've said, in recent years, United, you know what's going to happen.
They're very good at scoring late on, but
yeah,
there's something that Man City have sort of started to get into their game as well, scoring late goals. I think they're really.
Yeah, we all know what happened
on
the last day of the season.
Yeah, I won't bring that up again because you probably won't want me to. But no, yeah, I think both the Manchester teams just have this ability to score late goals and never give up
and fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the other teams aren't fighting, but they continue to play their style of football, whether it be the first minute or the 91st minute or whatever.
Yeah.
You've seen some teams when they start drawing at home and you think they should be winning, they start panicking and start trying to hoof the ball forward. Whereas City United, they still, they say if it takes us 30 seconds to build up and find the right pass, and that's how long it's going to take. Not going to try and force the issue. Naturally, the other team are going to be playing, sitting
back,
sitting deep. So,
but I think also the reason why you'd see the top clubs scoring late on against the lower clubs is a fitness thing. I think it could be that the top clubs like United and City, a lot more fit, and the other teams really tired. That's the difference, I reckon. But coming round to the Championship then. Who do you think will be the champions?
Oh, I thought you meant the Power Championship.
No.
Who do I think? Oh, I think it's going to be those two again.
Yeah, the Manchester teams.
I think Chelsea will have spells in the season where they'll look good, but I'm not quite sure that they can sustain it for a whole season. I mean, we already have seen this so far, that City and United can win when they're not playing their best. I'm not quite sure that Chelsea actually have that in them. I'm certainly sure that teams like Liverpool and Spurs, Arsenal, we're not really sure because they've got a very different looking squad, but certainly, I mean, Spurs so far, for example, haven't been able to grind out the results at all. 2 home draws to West Brom and Norwich. So
I don't know.
That's just those are the fixtures that you would just pretty much never see United and City dropping points. So yeah, I think it's going to be between those two. If I'm honest, I think City might just edge it. But United do have a very strong attacking force, so it's going to be exciting.
I think we've improved our squad, if I might say, on last year. 2 signings stand out: Van Persie and Shinji Kagawa, who is a really fantastic player. I reckon he could shine just as bright as RVP.
Yeah, that's a very good sign. Very good sign for United, and
he's looking sharp.
It wasn't even. Do you know what the price was? It wasn't
under
much,
20.
Was it?
It was under 20. It was around the late teens.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good little buy from Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, very, very good young players coming out of that Dortmund team. That's for sure.
They're a great side. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a really decent player, and I think Van Persie's a massive signing for United. Obviously, he scored, what was it, 30 odd, 40 odd goals last season.
He was the top goal scorer last season.
Yeah, and Rooney was second. So I mean, that's scary if you've got those two playing well together.
Sure.
The only question is, will they be able to play together? I mean, only time will tell that. But I mean, even if you've got the likes of one of them that can come off the bench, it's still quite worrying for another team. If you
the Southampton game showed that. I mean, Van Persie on form, wasn't he? God, fighting form, and the goal against Fulham.
Yeah,
nice little goal.
Yeah, it was a nice goal. Yeah, it was good against Southampton. That penalty was a bit embarrassing.
No, that was not Pirlo-esque really.
It was sort of like Pirlo, yeah, but he didn't go straight down the middle. So that's
the whole point. Yeah, the whole point of the Pirlo is to put it down the middle. If you put it at the side,
then
the
keeper has a lot longer to react.
Yeah, it's going to move over.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a feeling after he missed that maybe it wasn't going to be United's day, but they still managed to pull it out the bag. So I mean, should we talk a bit about Chelsea? Do you think they can get in amongst the top two? Have they got a chance of winning it this year?
I think they might. It's going to be a consistency issue, obviously. If they can keep, as you said, they grind out the results against your Fulhams and your Tottenhams. But Eden Hazard is a player I've admired for a few years. I think he could settle really well into the Premier League. I think he's going to be good.
Oh yeah, he's been unbelievable so far. I think he's been
Looking
really good. What is it? 5 assists and a goal so far. I think I first saw him a couple of seasons ago. I really watched a bit of him last season when he was playing for Lille, a bit in the Champions League, and he was just outstanding. His control of the football, I mean, it's messy, like almost. It's brilliant. So I mean, that's a great signing. It was a lot of money, admittedly, but I think it's definitely worth it for Chelsea in the long run.
Oh yeah, it will be. It will be. It's about time. It's about time they pushed on.
And they've obviously offloaded Drogba this season. The end of last season, but Torres is looking good so far. In the few games he's played, maybe this is what he needed to be sort of sugar-coated, I guess, and almost, I don't know how to put it, but yeah.
Giving good service, you mean?
Well,
some more service off of Hazard.
Partly that, and partly the fact that he now knows that he's the main guy.
The man, yeah. Sure. Oh yeah, he has been saying that in the press actually. He said that's been an encouragement, a bit of a motivator for him. I'm not surprised really because he's used to that in his career.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Atletico, he's been the man.
Yeah.
So I think they could do pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of questions are being asked about Chelsea. Though, what will they do if Torres goes off form or becomes injured? Where are the goals going to come from? I mean, can Sturridge step up to the mark? Or
I'm not sure Sturridge could.
Yeah, that may be a problem. I mean, they've signed a few players over the summer, but not really a backup striker. Similar problem that they're having maybe at Liverpool. Although for now they seem to be alright. If they can get other guys chipping in with goals, I think Mata and Hazard will certainly score their fair share from midfield.
I don't doubt it. Yeah.
So
no, they'll be good.
So far they look good, but I mean that performance against Atletico Madrid would, even though it wasn't.
Oh yes.
It wasn't exactly a major trophy on the line. It would certainly be worrying, I think, for some Chelsea fans, that performance.
Yes, I did see a little bit of it, and I was wondering whether I thought, well, that can't be the first team squad. Was it the first team squad that was out?
I think it was. It was virtually, pretty much a first team squad. They didn't have any Premier League games that that weekend.
Sure.
And
it was a Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, from what I can remember, it was pretty much a full team squad. They didn't have John Terry in defence because he still was suspended from that red card he picked up against Barcelona.
Famous red card, yeah.
Apart from that, it was.
Did he come on at the end in his full kit and shin pads or?
Terry?
Yeah, John Terry. Did he do that this time?
Well, what do you mean? Did he do that after the Barca game?
He did that in the final. You remember?
Oh yeah.
He came on in his full kit and shin pads and picked up the trophy.
Even though he was sitting in the stands.
He drew a lot of flack for that. But I just wonder whether that Atletico game can be taken as a good indicator because fair's fair. It was only the Super Cup, and I wonder if the players really give a toss about that.
Well, maybe not. I mean, only they can answer that. But I mean, the performance itself was, let's just say it's slightly concerning. But we can't really judge them on that result. So I guess you're right. But I still don't think Chelsea really have maybe the resources to go the distance. Well, not even necessarily the resources. Just they are quite the
squad.
Will they gel together? I'm not sure, but
but a good solid bet for third. You don't see them getting caught for third.
Well, it's hard to predict, but I would say at the moment they look good to go third. I'm just interested to see if results start going against them. Will they have maybe a similar problem that they did last season with Villas-Boas, where players started
to revolt?
Well, almost, yeah. So
that has been their problem actually, because they Yeah, they've ousted a couple of managers, haven't they, in a row?
Mm.
They haven't really found a great leader since Mourinho in a way. So when everyone is behind, I think they've been quite fickle, I might say, with their managers. You know, they're quick to sack. But there's a possibility that Arsenal could catch them, I think.
I mean, Abramovich is not known for his patience, is he? Let's just put it that way.
No.
I think they'll definitely finish third, maybe fourth, but they should definitely be in the top four, and if they're not, I think we can wave goodbye to another manager.
Definitely. Yeah, P45 straight away in the pace.
So we've talked a bit about Arsenal earlier, so anything, do you think they look good for fourth, having watched them early on this season?
I think they would have a fighting chance of fourth. I mean, they managed to comfortably dispatch Liverpool, didn't they? At the start of this month.
I don't know. That was a couple of weekends back now.
Yeah.
That was. It was good to get the
Looking
monkey
good
off the back in terms of not scoring, because they'd had 2-0 draws before that against Sunderland and Stoke, and obviously everyone was still talking about RVP and there's really going to cost them, but they got their first goals against Liverpool and looked really good. I think Diaby had a brilliant game, didn't he? I mean, he looks really good.
He
can step into the Alex Song role, and maybe if they can get Jack Wilshere fit, and they've got Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott, if those two can start playing well. I mean, on paper they've got a really good team.
They do. We've mentioned already about Lucas Podolski, haven't we?
Yeah, good signing.
It's a good signing, and Jack Wilshere. Jack Wilshere's got a fantastic career ahead of him, I reckon.
I hope so. Yeah.
His range of passing, I reckon he could.
It's disappointing he's been out injured for so long.
There is a proneness, isn't there? There's an injury proneness in a number of young English players. There's Cleverley and there's Wilshere, but I think Wilshere and Cleverley definitely future of England midfield after Gerrard and Lampard are pensioned off.
Yeah, they've gone away to live in Monaco on their private yacht.
Yeah, chill out. All people saying.
Or joined Gary Neville on the pundits.
I'm very pleased with Gary on the punditry. I think he's done a good job. He is good at it. If we ignore a certain Champions League semi-final with the unbelievable and that primal scream.
What was that?
He delivered. Yeah, the media were calling it the Neville-gasm.
Oh yeah, with Torres.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Exquisite.
Can we have an impression of that?
Okay. Fernando Torres is coming through. Oh! Unbelievable!
I think it was a bit higher pitch than that.
Yeah. Well, we might be able to play you a clip of that. I don't know. We'll have to get our legal department to look at that for the copyrights, but we'll try and bring you that. We're certainly you certainly know where to find it.
No, Neville's a good pundit. I mean, even though we all know he's United biased, he does a very good job of acting unbiased.
I didn't think he's that United biased.
Really?
I think he's done quite well. He's praising Arsenal, praising Liverpool.
Praising Liverpool through gritted teeth.
Oh God, he used to hate Liverpool. He used to properly hate Liverpool. Yep, I remember a few great occasions of Gary Neville in Liverpool, but that's in the past now.
Yeah, and
let's not go there.
He's had a bit of history with the likes of Tevez as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, the finger. Yeah, the finger gate. Classic. Criticising him in his autobiography. Carlos Tevez was one who liked a massage. Was Gary Neville's words. So I'm not sure what that means.
From you, Gary?
I'm not sure. I think it meant that he was a bit of a
lazy.
A bit of a pussy in the injury department. but anywho, so fourth place.
We've got a couple of other contenders. Liverpool would like to see themselves as contenders, although
the form does not speak for that, does it? They see themselves languishing rather amusingly in the relegation zone at the moment. pretty poor.
Yeah, I don't see that lasting, but
No.
definitely it hasn't been a good start for Liverpool. But I mean, when was the last time they did have a good start to the Premier League campaign? At least it was a few years ago now, wasn't it? So it's going to take a long time. They've got a new manager in who I am quite a big fan of personally.
Yes, good season last season, obviously.
Yeah, I think he's done wonders with Swansea, but yeah.
And they played. They had their success, but they had it the right way. I think they played some nice football last season.
Swansea. Yeah.
Yes, their passing, very nice.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant to watch at times, definitely. And if you can get Liverpool playing like that, they have got the quality players to do it. Obviously, at the moment there's a lot of frustration from Liverpool fans not getting any business done on transfer deadline day.
Yes,
that was a bit disappointing for them, especially having sent Andy Carroll out on loan to West Ham. Now they're stuck with Suarez, who seems to
not be able to hit a barn door with a banjo. That's the expression I've heard people use.
Yeah.
But should they have moved for Owen then? Owen for free.
I don't know.
Could have been worth a couple of goals, you know, they've not got a out and out striker.
Maybe, but maybe they thought that was a sign of desperation. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, he's getting on, isn't he? Everyone knows that. Injury prone.
Well, yeah. There's been talks of Drogba as well, haven't there, with this?
Well, Drogba seems to be unsettled out at Shanghai Shenhua.
Shanghai Shenhua.
Shenhua.
Something.
Well, yes, it seems like they're not actually coming up with the money.
Trying very hard not to sound racist, but
what?
Shenhua. the team from China, which signed Drogba and Anelka.
Yeah. Well, you know, it seems like they've not come up with the money for Drogba, and he's getting unhappy. It's what I've heard recently. And they promised him the world, didn't they? £250,000 a week.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of money, but
for someone his age, it's a ridiculous amount.
A lot of mixed reports coming. I mean, one minute he might be leaving, Liverpool might be interested. The next minute they're not, and Drogba's fine. So I don't know. I think he'll probably. I can't see him moving already, but I mean, yeah. Back to Liverpool. I mean, the question is, where are the goals going to come from?
Sure. Suarez did not look on at the races against Arsenal, did he?
Well, no, he hasn't looked really at the races all season. He's had one moment of brilliance against Man City when he scored that free kick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But sort of he made up for that in a way by, well, not made up for it, but
anti-made up for it.
Yeah,
spoiled it
by missing about 10 open goals. But yeah.
Classic.
There's a lot of pressure on him there. There is. And I think even if they sign someone,
no one likes to be a outcast from society. That's why
not the most popular
after last season's events.
So what about Spurs then?
Not sure Spurs are gonna challenge that highly for the fourth, do you?
Well, lost a couple of big players, haven't they? Lost Van der Vaart and Modric. Have they really replaced them in Dembele and Clint Dempsey?
Well, Dembele is a good player. Dembele, you know, I think he will be a good signing. But Van der Vaart and Luka Modric, obviously, really good players. I'm not sure you can replace them, especially not on the budget Spurs are on. You know.
Well, they definitely look to be. They spent quite a lot this season, but they only spent what they got in. So
who was the other you mentioned? Dembele and
Dempsey.
Dempsey.
I think Dempsey will do well. I think he's sort of a similar player to Van der Vaart. He'll get you 10, 12 goals a season, and he likes getting forward. I still think Van der Vaart's a slightly better player, but I think he'll do the job. But Modric was quite a big blow. Although, you know, if he wanted to go, then there's not much you can do about it, obviously. You've got to let him go, but
he had been wanting to go for a few seasons. There'd been a lot of some talk of him coming to United.
And they've got this Spurs have got this goalkeeper situation now, haven't they? Where they've signed France's goalie, Lloris. But Villas-Boas has come out and said that Brad Friedel is still his number one choice. And Lloris is obviously not happy about that.
Well, yeah, so I mean, it's always really frustrating to be signed under a false pretense, isn't it? And as a goalkeeper, it is the position that that is the hardest to is the hardest to break into, because teams will traditionally keep the one player in. There's not really a rotation going on there. But I think Friedel is a strong player. I think I've seen him play a few great games. I think he's still worth a first team slot. Do you?
Yeah, but it makes you wonder what type of communication was there. I mean, we're talking about Lloris here. He's a guy who's
great goalkeeper.
He's a captain of France. And he's not going to have signed. They're not going to have told him. Spurs is going to ring him up and say, "Hi mate, we want to sign you, but you're not going to be first choice. Even though you're the captain of France and everything, but unfortunately you're not going to be first choice here at Tottenham."
No.
But then
was he first choice last season though?
What, at Lyon?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's definitely first choice at Lyon. Yeah, I mean, I think he wanted to come to the Premier League. That's what has been said, and Tottenham made the offer. So he was persuaded by the fact that
it was the Premier League it was after, rather than the team itself.
Even though then they don't have Champions League football, he obviously believes that they have the potential to get it. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It makes you wonder how much communication was actually there between the manager, or whether Friedel is just the number one guy until he sort of has a cock up, and now they're just sort of hoping that Friedel might make one error so they can. But the reality is that Friedel is getting on, and in the next, if not this season, the next couple of seasons, he's going to
retire, isn't he?
Yeah, well, you think so. So I mean, he's a very good signing, Lloris. So yeah. Anyone else? I mean, Newcastle, could they spring a surprise again?
They're a team I like a lot. They were really my second team last season, and I think they could spring a surprise. They might suffer the second season blues. The difficult second season.
Well, yeah.
But if they can get their main stars of last season firing again, and they're up for it, like Demba Ba and Cisse.
Yeah.
Both great players. Who was the midfielder? Chetiote.
Yeah, great player. I mean, really arguably, good. Newcastle may have had the best transfer window of everyone, and they didn't really sign anyone because they managed to keep hold of all their star players from last season.
Yeah, I was surprised. Demba Ba particularly, or Chetiote. Who's a player I thought would definitely move up. Move up to one of the bigger.
Yeah, he was linked with Arsenal, wasn't he? And Demba Ba was linked with, I think, was it Galatasaray? I think he still has that buyout clause, doesn't he, in his contract? So.
What, for how much?
I think it was about 6 million. I'm not quite sure.
6 million for Demba Ba?
Yeah.
It's got to be worth that to somebody, hasn't it?
Well, I'm sure there would have been teams that have come in with offers, but obviously he's happy at Newcastle, which is good news. Good news for them.
Definitely. I think there's a good team spirit there, clearly, then.
Yeah, and I think Cisse is a brilliant player, isn't he?
Yeah. He certainly overtook Demba Ba. He overtook Demba Ba last season. When he came back, when he came into the side, because I think he signed in January.
Yeah.
Last season, and when he came in, Demba Ba stopped scoring. It was quite odd.
Yeah, well, Demba Ba sort of
just clicked in.
Maybe took a bit of a backseat role, and
assisting. And
Cisse sort of took the reins, but Demba Ba scored that brilliant goal against Tottenham on the first weekend of the season.
Oh yes,
that was a great goal. I think if those guys can start gelling and both be scoring, they're a force to be reckoned with. The only real concern is perhaps have they got enough strength at the back? Possibly not. They've got.
They've never looked that strong there last season. Not really. But I think Hatem Ben Arthur.
Yeah.
Strong player. He scored that wonder goal, didn't he, last season? Can't remember when that was.
Oh yeah, was it against Bolton? It was, when he ran through all of them.
Ran the whole pitch.
And he's a very talented player, and he seems to be improving all the time. Scored another great goal the other weekend. Can't remember who was it against.
I'm not sure.
Aston Villa, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That
was a wonderful goal. Yeah. Yes, when he came on.
He's a really good player.
Yeah, he cut inside and smacked it in the top corner.
Yeah,
I seem to remember.
definitely. I mean, I think they can match the top teams going forward. So just at the back, I mean, Colaccini is. I think he's a really good player.
You think?
Yeah, but he has been prone to injuries, and there was talk of maybe them signing Mathieu Debuchy from Lille, who's a really good right back, and I'm surprised that didn't go through. I obviously couldn't agree a fee. I think Newcastle still financially, don't have massive spending power, obviously.
Still in the same situation they were a couple of years ago. Well, they're in a worse than their situation.
Well,
they had to sell the naming rights to the ground and other things.
Yeah. Well, the most of the business they did was a direct result of selling Andy Carroll to Liverpool, and that was probably arguably the best thing that happened to them, wasn't it?
That was a great deal.
Getting 35 million for
Carroll. It's a ridiculous amount, yeah.
And they, spent the likes of Cabaye and Barr and Cisse, Tiote, all of these players
out of that one fee.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive coup. So, yeah.
The sky's the limit for them.
Well, wouldn't quite say that.
Fourth is the limit.
Fourth, mate. I think if they can do fifth again, like last season, if they come fifth or sixth, then they'd be very happy. Anyone else who could break? I think Everton, maybe. Is this their year to break in? They did break in quite a few seasons ago.
They've lost Tim Cahill to New York.
True.
New York Red Bulls.
That is true.
Yeah, no.
But
he was a great player for them. He was wonderful. Served them a long time, didn't he?
Yeah, 8 years, 8 seasons. Definitely a very big player for them.
Yeah, definitely. But he was 32, and so maybe getting on a bit. Maybe they did a good bit of business.
Yeah, they bought some more players in as well. They've got Pienaar now from Tottenham permanently.
Yeah.
He's
another good signing.
Yeah, he's a very good player. They've also bought this guy Kevin Morales from Olympiacos, I think.
Okay, and they showed what they could do against United, of course.
Yeah,
Everton.
That was excellent.
Which is a real eye opener, wasn't it? First match of the season for both teams.
Yeah, I think they deserve to win that game.
And Marouane Fellaini.
Rave reviews for Fellaini. Rightly so, he was excellent.
Also gave us the run around at Old Trafford at the end of last season, causing us to draw with Everton 4-4, and maybe United. Yeah. And United, from there you all know what happened. Lost the championship.
Probably the game that lost you the title right there.
Yeah, I was at that game. It was a horrible experience. We had them twice. We had them 3-1. We had them 4-2. It still ended up.
That's what. But United do have that odd game in the season where they just fall apart defensively. It happened a few times last season. It has cost you in the past.
A lot of people talk about Ferdinand.
Not
he's a little bit suspect. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, do you think Everton can maybe break into the top 4 possibly?
It's a big ask. It's a big ask, isn't it? I don't think it's very likely.
But they did. They were brilliant at the end of last season and the season before that. Their problem has been starting well. They've often had a slow start. They seem to have started well this season. So can they continue it for a whole season? I mean, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. If they do. They haven't looked bad in defence. Actually, I think they do. They are quite a strong side.
They've always been very organised under David Moyes, that's for sure.
Oh, he's a good manager, isn't he?
Yeah, excellent.
Definitely a good manager.
Possibly, are you thinking maybe he could take over at United?
Yeah, I am. There's a lot of talk about that. He doesn't. I mean, this comes up every few years. I think Alex Ferguson could be the manager for another 30 years. I don't think there's any. No one's going to stop Ferguson. No one's going to stop him.
Yeah, he'll be walking into the ground with the Zimmer frame and all.
Oh, he'll be a brain in a jar before he stops.
So yeah, do you want to talk a bit about the relegation places?
Yep, I think we will come on to them. So it's that time of year again. The Champions League comes around again, and looking at the groups, it's going to be an interesting first stage, isn't it? some of the looking at the English sides in it. I mean, only Manchester United have an easy draw.
Well, on paper easy, but so was last year. And you mucked that one up a bit, didn't you?
Well, we certainly did. It was what you might call an embarrassment. Ferguson wasn't at his best, I don't think, with the team selection last year. It was it went a bit awry, didn't it? Dropping points at home.
Yeah, that was unusual because, I mean, the difference between the Premier League form and the Champions League form was just...
It was marked, wasn't it?
You know, I just suddenly thought, is the Premier League that great, or is this just, you know, are we on the same level as the Moldovan League or something? Man United getting beaten by, what is it? Braga? No. Basel, that's the one. Yeah.
So good, yeah. But a good place to start out is Chelsea then, the champions.
Yeah.
Incredible victory last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was some run. I don't quite know how they got through some of those matches, but
Barca.
They did somehow, and they were rewarded by being put in the highest seeded pots, and as a result, they got a draw which could have been harder. It could have been easier. It was a so-so draw for them. Juventus is the team that obviously stands out. That's the Italian champions. You would think on paper it would be those two vying for the top place and certainly going through to the knockout stage.
Well, yeah, Chelsea start against them at home on next Wednesday. I guess that will lay down a marker as to how the group's going to go, probably.
Yeah, I must admit I don't know an awful lot about the Italian league. Don't know a lot about the Juventus team. But it'll be interesting because, like we mentioned earlier, Chelsea did not look good against Atletico Madrid, so maybe Juventus will come into that match with the mentality that they can have a go at Chelsea and get all 3 points. Although
I don't think they have a bad side this season, Juventus. Yeah. I think they'll be pretty strong.
Traditionally, Italian teams have been, you know, worked up from the back, if you like, have very strong defences. I think Juventus will probably be that way as well.
Sure.
May not be the most entertaining spectacle, but yeah, certainly a game that I'll be watching. The other teams in their group are Shakhtar Donetsk from Ukraine. England fans may know a bit about the stadium, certainly playing a couple of games there in the Euros.
Yeah.
And the day before, I'm going to try and pronounce this right, Nordsjælland.
Nordsjælland, excellent.
I think I did alright then.
They're a Norwegian side, though.
Yeah.
We think.
Well, I think they are the Norwegian champions, and on paper they should be. I've got to say stop saying on paper, but it's not played on paper. But yeah, they've got nothing to lose. They may as well go out and try and cause an upset because everyone's expecting them to finish last. So.
Yeah, who was that tiny team that managed to win it? I think Real Madrid a few years ago. Was it Real? Remember that tiny side?
APOEL, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was...
Well, APOEL Nicosia got to the quarterfinals.
Email us if you know about that. I can't remember who they were.
I don't know who you're talking about.
A couple of years... Anyway.
But yeah, a good example would be APOEL Nicosia, the Cypriot team who managed to somehow get to the quarterfinals last year.
Anything can happen in the Champions League. Really.
They managed to win their group, although they didn't have to deal with Chelsea or Juventus. But yeah, would you like to go on to some of the other groups?
Yeah, we'll go straight then to the group of death, Group D, which is been billed the group of death. Man City fans, listen up.
Well, I think they already know this. It's hard to avoid, but yeah, they won't like being reminded of this.
This is going to be a tough group, isn't it, for Man City? You've got that match next Tuesday. Must-see viewing, isn't it?
Huge game at the Bernabeu. I mean, one thing you can say though, it's not an easy group to get out of, but you have got some really entertaining fixtures there, haven't you? With likes of Real Madrid, Dortmund, and Ajax. That's the champions of the Spanish, German, and Dutch leagues all playing in one group. Not quite sure how that even worked out in the draw, why they were seeded like that they could even be drawn that way.
No,
even Juventus could have been drawn with them the way the pots were. So
it's on Champions League finishes, isn't it?
Yeah,
not on league finishes, crucially. Yeah, but for a City fan this season, they've just won the Premier League. City not traditionally getting a taste of the high life, being thrown in right in the deep end. It must excite it must excite you as a City fan, Jamie.
Yeah, I think we've got to embrace this group,
the new future.
And it was slightly disappointing, maybe for some City fans, that we didn't spend on world-renowned players like we have in the last couple of summers. But we've got the squad that we had before. We've made a couple of good additions, and this group, I think it's time to not feel bitter and disappointed. I think it's time to move on and say, right, let's show the rest of Europe what we can do. Real Madrid will almost certainly be expected to win the group, but I think we should have enough to beat Dortmund and Ajax, and
that will be the big game. The Dortmund game. I think if you can win that and maybe get a point away, then you'll definitely go. Definitely can get second in the group.
Yeah, I mean Dortmund are in a way a similar team than City, although they haven't spent their way to the top as such. They've got a lot of very good youthful players, and they've risen to the top of the German league. But again,
that's a good comparison.
Don't have much Champions League
pedigree,
experience. They see Bayern Munich with a team that sort of took the reins for German football in the Champions League last season, but they couldn't beat Dortmund in Germany. Sort of similar situation, I guess, with Chelsea and Manchester City. But yeah, it should be a good group. I'm not quite sure how Ajax are going to fare. I mean, you played them last year in the Europa League, didn't you? What did you think of them then?
Well, they're a strong side. We managed to get through against them, didn't we? But I think City will have too much again for them. Actually, I think Ajax might find themselves at the bottom of that group, actually, which is surprising for such a big name. But they haven't kicked on in recent years. They're not the same team as they were.
No, I think
definitely not.
The Dutch league is one of the leagues that hasn't really gone forward, whereas
it's gone to sleep.
Whereas other leagues have. But yeah, I mean Ajax really, they're the real losers. I mean Man City fans, everyone in that group will feeling a little frustrated at a draw, but Ajax have got the worst off probably, because they're not even looking at Europa League football with that draw. But
no.
So do you want to go on to?
Yeah, should we go on to United?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Man United then. Right, Braga, Galatasaray, and Cluj, who I haven't heard of.
The Romanian team. Yeah.
The Romanian side. But
should be easy.
Should's a big word. Obviously, you spoke about last year.
I think this group is even easier than last year. To be honest with you, I mean, we've got Braga, who are, I guess, a similar team to Benfica, but they're not as good. I don't think. I haven't even seen them in the Champions League. The last few seasons they've been in the Europa League. Actually beat Udinese on penalties in the Champions League playoff to get in here. I think that's a good draw. I think you'd rather have Braga than Udinese, but Galatasaray, I mean that's a tough place to go. That'll be tough to go away to Turkey. That may struggle there, but
hell, as it's called. 1994 when United went to.
Apologise to our Turkish listeners.
Well, no. I only say that because in Istanbul, it's famous that I think 1993-4 season United went to Galatasaray, and the Turkish fans took delight in welcoming the young team to hell, as they called it. Welcome to hell. It's a pressure cooker atmosphere, and Eric Cantona ended up getting a clap on the head by Turkish police that day. The team featured a young David Beckham, young Gary Neville, young Paul Scholes, and we managed to lose that one. Wasn't a good occasion, so I think any team could struggle in that pressure cooker atmosphere. Istanbul.
Yeah, and these are all factors that you need to add in. I mean, you really think that they should get through that group, but they have got tough away matches there. I mean, Romania, not necessarily an easy place to go, although I think
it's a long trip.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Especially if you've got to play Wednesday and then Saturday, it can be quite hard travelling back from places like Romania and Turkey.
We'll have to take a different sort of squad to that Romanian game, I think, probably in barrage. But then, of course, you can slip up, can't you? Taking an inexperienced team out there. But yeah, obviously barrage, will be the biggest game they've almost ever had. I would think. United. Cluj, sorry, I don't know where barrage go, but probably Braga.
A mixture of Braga and Cluj.
That might be an idea if they if they were to join forces. So again, I'm not sure how legal that would be again. But no, United start out with the Galatasaray game, and as is with Chelsea and City, you English supporters might be doing a fair bit of channel hopping, mightn't they? I mean, you've got Chelsea playing Juventus, United, Galatasaray, and Real Madrid and Man City over 2 nights.
Let's not forget Arsenal either, who go.
No, we haven't got on to Arsenal yet.
Montpellier.
Yeah,
but yeah, it should be good. I always love that feeling you get when Champions League football is back, having back-to-back games in midday on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep.
Sit in front of the TV with a beer. What more can you want?
Or a cider, as we enjoy down here in the West Country. Montpellier, of course, never an easy place to go to, as anyone from the West Country will tell you. But Arsenal, not an easy group. Schalke and Olympiacos. Olympiacos, obviously, not the force they were a few years ago, but Schalke, they're still not a bad side.
Yeah, Schalke went on a good run a couple of seasons ago, didn't they, when they got to the semi-final?
Yep.
Eventually knocked out by United, but they've got a pretty decent team, although they haven't really done a lot in the last.
No.
Well, certainly domestically they haven't exactly shone. It's been dominated by Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Montpellier had, I'm not quite sure, but if last season was a one-off for them in the French league, I mean, it was sort of a fairy tale run. They managed to hold off the big spending power of PSG and nick them to the title on the final day. That was really something, great underdog story, but maybe they might have a bit of a hangover. So I think certainly if Arsenal were given the option between PSG and Montpellier, they would probably choose Montpellier. Also let's not forget that Olivier Giroud was bought from Montpellier this summer, so he'll be back there. Interesting to see what sort of reception he gets.
Not a friendly one, I would suggest. I'm not sure.
Probably not, but I would expect Arsenal to top that group.
But we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room. Obviously, Barcelona. Can you see past them for the
whole thing
of the trophy? But obviously, last season we said that again, didn't we? So I don't know. I never know. They can be upset, can't they?
I think they're the favourites in any competition that they enter, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what really happened last season was a bit of a one-off, really. I'm not quite sure how Chelsea managed to beat them over 2 legs.
It was just a great team performance.
Yeah, some will argue that they didn't deserve that at all. Chelsea and Barcelona on another day could have won both legs 4 or 5-0, but it was just one of those things. You've got to expect it would probably be a Barcelona Real Madrid final unless they meet in the earlier knockout stages. But yeah, I mean, if you look at Barcelona's group first off, they've got Benfica, Spartak Moscow and Celtic. So it's good to see a Scottish team back in the Champions League.
But not a good draw. They never get a good draw, do they, the Scots? The 2 Scots teams never get such a good draw. But no, you'd expect Barcelona and the second place team is up for grabs. Actually, having said that, I think Celtic would have a shot at that.
It could have been worse for Celtic. I mean, they could have been the Ajax well, I'm not sure they could have the Pots, but the way the draw went, it's tough getting Barcelona, but it was almost inevitable they were going to get a top team. So,
and it's a weird season, obviously, for Celtic, isn't it? This one, because they're not going to have their old friends in town, are they? At all? Oh yeah. Rangers obviously getting kicked right down to the bottom of Scottish football, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for hours. That's been an ongoing issue for quite a while now.
Yeah, but that's going to be. That might be a one-sided league actually up there.
Probably will be. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the Celtic team. I don't know how strong it is at the moment.
Well, it might work to their favour if they can maybe concentrate a bit more on the Champions League. Make sure they have a strong team out for that every week, and they could perhaps nick the second spot. Although they have got to go to Spartak Moscow, very difficult place, probably playing in about -20 degrees there. Benfica are a good team.
It's the
of
same
course,
as Scotland,
yeah.
though, isn't it?
True, yeah. Benfica managed to hit Man United last season. They're a good team.
Yeah, that was terrible. Awful again.
Yeah, but they are a decent team.
Yeah.
I think they recently sold.
Yeah, they were great.
Sold one of their top players though. Axel Witsel has just gone to Zenit.
Great player.
But yeah, that may be a chance. And even if Celtic can get third in the group, they drop out down to the Europa League, and that's a competition they could do well in. So, although lots of teams would like to maybe avoid that competition, it wouldn't be a bad thing if they can finish third and still have some European competition to look forward to later in the season.
Yes.
So, yeah, those are the British teams covered there.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. We'll look forward to that next week and have more from me and JG here on the Champions League. We'll be watching a few of those games of interest. Which would be your choice then? Which games are you going to watch? What game are you going to watch Tuesday night, Jay?
Tuesday night I'll be watching. I don't know. I can't see it. Yeah. I'll be watching the Man City game against.
Of course,
Real Madrid.
Of course you will.
And probably Wednesday we'll be watching Chelsea Juventus. Although I'll keep an eye on United against Galatasaray. And
Sly eye.
We did mention that we would quickly before we go talk a bit about relegation. You'd want to just give me three names who you think are going to go down from the Premier League.
God, Reading.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people's favourite to go down. I'm going to have to say, sadly, Southampton, because they have one of my favourite players in the team, don't they? They have one of our favourite players, Tricky Dicky Lambert, who was a Bristol Rovers player for a good few years and was a hero of Rovers. And me and JG, big Rovers supporters, and we jumped for joy when that goal went in. Well, JG didn't jump for joy. I jumped for joy when Tricky Dick scored against City, didn't he?
Great finish. Yeah.
It was an incredible goal. He'd come on only a couple of minutes earlier, and he's put it in.
Brilliant composure for a guy who's been scoring for fun, really, in the lower leagues. Has he? Here comes Lambert. On he comes. Has he got enough? Is he going to cope well with the Premier League? 2 minutes in, bam, bottom corner. Joe Hart, world-renowned keeper, no chance.
No chance. Yeah.
Unbelievable, but it just seems weird that a few seasons ago we were watching him down at the Memorial Ground, but
League One football.
So apart from that, Southampton and Reading.
Who else? I'm not sure about a third one.
Personally, I'd go for Norwich.
Yeah.
I think Norwich might struggle. They've obviously lost Paul Lambert, had a magnificent season last season, but from what I've seen so far, I would be concerned.
They'll struggle. I'll be with you.
But I disagree.
Anyone else could get sucked in, like Fulham, Aston Villa?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think Fulham will be fine, although they do have quite a few new players in. I think Aston Villa will have enough. It's tough, really, because I think Wigan also have a good team. I think Swansea are playing well enough against under Loudrup, I should say.
Yeah.
So it's tough. West Brom, I thought at the start of the season, but so far they've been brilliant, haven't they? I mean,
and the Hammers?
West Ham. Ooh, yeah. I mean, they've spent well, haven't they? And they've brought in some good players. They've got Andy Carroll now, obviously.
He's a good player.
And
he'll help them a lot.
I think West Ham will have enough to set up. So my three would unfortunately have to be Norwich, Southampton and Reading. Not necessarily in that order, but I think QPR have spent enough as well. Stoke should be alright. Sunderland are fine.
QPR are going to be interesting, aren't they?
Yeah. How quickly they gel. But
they made Park the captain. They managed to get rid of the disruptive influence that was Joey Barton.
Off to Marseille, it's a good one.
Yeah, didn't have a great last game for the club.
No,
managing to
not one of his finer
kick
moments.
and headbutt a player on his way off the pitch.
Yeah, United fans love him for that, I'm sure.
Amusing, it was amusing. It didn't help us one jot. But Parker's captain, and he's a good footballer. He's going to be a good player for them. He's got such experience, Champions League winner.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll be a good player.
Obviously, they've bought a couple of big
players
players
on that topic.
QPR have also bought likes of Esteban Granero from Real Madrid and Julio Cesar from Inter Milan.
The keeper.
Yeah, and
Spanish.
not Spanish, Brazilian.
Yeah, I'm wrong about that. I got confused.
Yeah, they've brought in some good players. It'll be interesting if they gel, but we can't obviously go through every player they've bought. Otherwise, we probably will be here all night.
It's a fair few.
And then the rest of tomorrow, telling you guys, everyone that they've sold. So
well, Fabio da Silva.
On loan, yeah. So, what's the difference between him and Raphael again?
Well, no one knows. No one can tell. We're not sure which
they could have
one.
swapped them around.
Which one went down there? But he's a left back, and I'm not sure really. I'm not sure about the wisdom of letting him go down there because I'm not a massive Evra fan at the moment. I think Evra's a bit of a dodge case.
Yeah,
in defence.
That's why I thought you might be getting Leighton Baines, but that never materialised, did it, over the summer?
Oh, wait, did you hear something about that?
Well, yeah, it was well documented that Leighton Baines may be lured away from Everton because United were interested, but may have even had a bid turned down. I'm not sure, but obviously it didn't happen in the end. But yeah, so those are my three, and anything else to add on that?
Nope. Well, that's about all we got time for on the first Studs Up football podcast.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get another one out soon, review the weekend's action, Champions League next week. I don't know whether we'll do one before or after that, but yeah, really looking forward to it. And it's been a pleasure doing a podcast with James today, and who knows what we'll get up to next time.
Yeah, see you next time. From here we start our great adventure.
Bye.